Hype Network presents.
On this episode of Season 5 Reflection.
Actually encouraged me to work on my social skills and eventually explore on the science of dating so that we will be able to learn what other people are naturally born with. Like, for example, a lot of people are born with natural talents, natural skills, natural communication skills. And some people are not born with it. And so, in my research and my journey of trying to find out how to actually be able to possess those skills, I've learned that just like any other skills, confidence, social skills, dating skills can also be learned. And so that's what I intend to share to the world, that anything you can learn, and that includes your social and dating skills.
Catch the Pizarra Tales weekly as we tackle issues about education and share experiences about teaching. Hosted by Jay Australia, available on your favorite podcast platforms.
Hey folks, welcome back to another season. And this time I have a guest with me, a legend, a legend that I caught up on Instagram who happens to be a master of love. And we are in the season of love. It's a loving season of February. So it's an honor to have her as my guest, ladies and gentlemen, Miss uh, Miss Vanessa Antonio. Hi Vanessa, how are you doing?
Hi, Rajiv. Thank you for having me in your show.
Yeah, it's a huge honor to have you. Like I mentioned earlier, it felt like it was yesterday. I was I was looking at you on a live stream. Now you're on my show. It's a huge honor to have you on my show.
Thank you. Thank you, Rajiv. You are so sweet.
So before we get into the conversation, could you give a little bit of background aside from the stuff that I mentioned to my guest, if you will, about you?
Sure. Sure. So, as Rajiv mentioned, hi everyone. I'm Vanessa Antonio. I'm a dating coach and I'm also a US certified matchmaker. Basically, my life's mission is to make finding love easier for people. So, hopefully, we will be able to share an insight or two about love during the Rajiv show. And yeah, I also run a company. It's called Singles Events Manila. We intend to connect singles who are actually open to finding love. So we have get togethers every weekend. We connect them virtually and then in person as well. And we also try to find matches for them so that we will be able to give singles a chance to find their real love.
Awesome, awesome. So dating coach, that's an interesting topic. And it's in the love month, folks, for those who are tuning in. It's February and contact Vanessa Antonio because she's a legend. I'm sure she is a legend and she can help you out here. So let's take it back a bit first before we talk about dating coach and love, the science of love. Could we could we take it back a bit? If you and I were classmates in high school, who were you in high school? Are you the valedictorian? The were you experimenting with love, like puppy love and all that stuff back in high school? If you and I are classmates in high school, who are you? In a nutshell.
So back when I was in high school, I remember myself being a very awkward person, no
Hmm.
confidence, very slim social skills. So I've always looked up to my professors, my teachers who are very confident, very intelligent. And so I told myself that I wanted to be like them. And at the same time, I've also looked up to students who are always present when there are like activities in school, and I always wish that I have their confidence. So that was me in high school. And that I was also like a victim of bullying, and so
Oh,
that those experiences actually encouraged me to work on my social skills and eventually explore on the science of dating, so that we will be able to learn what other people are naturally born with. Like, for example, a lot of people are born with natural talents, natural skills, natural communication skills, and some people are not born with it. And so, in my research and my journey of trying to find out how to actually be able to possess those skills, I've learned that just like any other skills, confidence, social skills, dating skills can also be learned. And so that's what I intend to share to the world, that anything you can learn, and that includes your social and dating skills.
so I a follow up question that I have is, what is your definition of love? I mean, everybody has their own versions of this. I want to know from a dating coach perspective, uh, the idea of love with your knowledge.
All right. So when I was younger, I would define love as this euphoric feeling, like, the killing feeling that you get. I thought that was love already.
Hmm.
But in my journey of studying love and dating, I've actually realized that, love, there is a formula to it. It's not as mysterious as we thought it is.
Hmm.
So people would always say, oh, love moves in mysterious ways. Love is so mysterious.
Hmm.
But when you actually start studying, and when I say studying, you and I, anyone in this world who wants to be able to find and keep love, could study it by typing in the science of love, science of dating in Google, our best friend.
Hmm.
And so in my journey of trying to make sense of love and dating, I've realized that when you want to be able to find and keep good love, you should actually learn the formula to it. And what are the formula to it? I often like to refer to the research findings of this person. He's a very good psychologist. His name is Dr. John Gottman, and
Hmm.
he's running this institute called Gottman Institute. Basically, what they're doing is they're trying to share to the world what are the practices that couples should do if they want to keep love. So what is an example of those practices if you want to be able to keep your relationship, if you don't want to break it up with that person, and you see that person being with you long term?
Hmm.
So one of those would be, his term would be responding to bids. What does that mean? For example, Rajiv, if you are with your girlfriend and your girlfriend says, "Oh, Rajiv, look, can you hear that music? It's really great." So
Hmm.
when your girlfriend, excuse me, when your girlfriend makes a statement like that, you have three options, Rajiv. You could ignore her statement, you could actually agree with her, or you could disagree.
Hmm.
So most of the time, the couples who are actually lasting, like being together for a long time, those are the couples who first respond always to their partner. So when your partner makes a statement, make sure that you don't ignore them. You
Hmm.
try to respond to them. Second is, you don't dismiss what they're feeling, what they're hearing, or what they're observing. So when the girlfriend says like, look, can you hear that music? You're gonna be like, oh yeah, I could hear that music. It sounds like a good music. I know that you like it.
Hmm.
Even if you don't like the music, you would actually try to first make her feel as if you recognize that, yes, that's a music that you like, and yes, I hear it. So people who are in long-term relationship, and those relationships that are bound to to end. These are the couples who does not pay attention to their partners anymore. When the partner says something, they're just gonna be like, oh, ano na naman yan, as if that partner is bothering you.
Mm.
So I think one of the secrets of keeping love is being responsive to your partner. So that's just one of the many things scientists are saying, that if you want to be able to keep your relationship, there are actually best practices or what you call habits that you can do, so that you are likely to keep that relationship going. Because by the end of the day, relationships are made of two individuals, right? And as individuals, you have needs, and
Mm.
part of those needs is attention, is to feel as if you are with a person who recognizes you and also responds to you. So yeah, that's just one of many.
I gotta ask though. In speaking in terms of reflecting back into the past, and as mentioned, um, what are the lessons that you've learned during your younger years that help propel you to move forward, like those tiny lessons in the first crushes and stuff like that? Did you have those kind of learning lessons, or the studying became more natural during when you were finding out that it was, oh, this was not this was not as this was not the love as it was meant to be, like something like that? I hope it made sense, the question.
Yeah, I understand you, Rajiv. It's funny that you mentioned about first crushes, because now that I'm older and now that I'm married,
Hmm.
when I look back and I look at my former crushes, I'm gonna be like, oh my gosh, thank God I did not marry them. Thank God I did not end up with them, because my life would have been so different. And I don't think I'm gonna be this happy if I married my crushes. So in terms of realizations, reflections, and if there's something that I want to share with people who are like so head over heels their crushes right now, especially
Hmm.
when you're young,
Yeah.
sooner or later when you look at those crushes, you are gonna realize that if you married them or if you ended up with them, your life will not be maybe the life that you're wanting, because
Hmm.
there's always a reason why you don't end up with them.
Hmm.
And even if during the time when you like them, it feels like they mean the world to you, as if like, oh, the world could end if I end up with this person.
Hmm.
After a year or two, or when you start to expand your network, you would realize that there are other people who are more match or compatible to you. So if you are crazily in love right now and the person does not say love you back, do
Hmm.
not be depressed or do not feel as if it's the end of the world, because there's always a reason why you end up with them. And based on my experience, it's always because there's someone better meant for you.
Interesting. Interesting. I would love to share a little bit of insight that I learned, like also as getting older and getting wise, as I also age. I noticed that there's this certain things that I don't know. In my opinion, of course, is that when it comes to dating, there's this set of standard that we have for I don't know if you agree with me. Is that we have this set of standards that we have on a person, a personality that complements sometimes challenges, and uh, I, I find that very interesting for me personally, that that I look for these kind of qualities in in such and such person. If they don't fit the criteria, is that normal, or it's an abnormal thing for a human being as they age, I guess?
I think that having standards, or what we call like a checklist of who you want to date, who you want to marry, who you want to be with, is very normal, Rajiv.
Hmm.
So it's we're having those lists because like growing up, we've been noticing a lot of people around us, and we've seen relationships, we've seen attitudes and behaviors that we like and we didn't like.
Hmm.
And so usually the checklist that we have are the ones that we picked up from maybe close family relatives that we really admire, like traits, like for example, oh, I want to end up with someone like my tito because he's so generous. Oh, I
Hmm.
want to end up with someone like my kuya because he is so protective. Or if you're a man, like um I want to end up with someone who's like my auntie because my auntie is so caring.
Hmm.
So these things that we've observed from other people and these traits that we really like, we tend to incorporate them into our checklist. And when we grow up, we hope to find them in other people. But
Hmm.
most of the time, what happens is even if we have checklist, we always end up with either like a person with some of those traits. It's
Hmm.
never 100%.
Hmm.
But sometimes we also end up with people who has the opposite of those traits that we are looking for.
Hmm.
So my general advice is, even if this happens, my general advice would be to still make your list. Because
Hmm.
even based on my experience, when you have those checklists, you will not end up with a person who has like 1 to 10. But
Hmm.
when you set your, just like with anything, when you set your mind, your heart to it, and you've decided like, no, I will never end up with a drunkard, I will never end up with a gambler, then you actually condition your eyes to to be open and to be like when you meet people, you get to filter those negotiables and non-negotiables already. So if you're single, even if it feels impossible that you will find all 10 traits, just list them down. Question yourself, why is this important to you? Ask yourself, oh, who's that person where I saw this trait, that's why I'm looking for this in my future partner. Just like a lot of internal work, a lot of like self-awareness, and always ask yourself, why am I looking for a partner who's pretty? Why am I looking for a partner who's rich? Why am I looking for a partner who's responsible? Am I lacking these traits, or is this like a trait that I've seen around me? So create those lists and ask why it's important. If it's not very important for you, then you could put it under negotiable. If it's very, very important to you, then you have to put it under non-negotiable. So when you go on a date, it'll be easier for you to do the filtering. And you deserve to actually choose, because of course your parents have worked so hard to send you in good school, to raise you as a person. So whoever you end up with will influence your life. So yeah, you deserve to choose as well who to end up with.
Interesting. Is interesting. Taking this from another perspective is also the intrinsic value, because of course, writing down a list, that's more of an extrinsic viewpoint. You're looking at someone as something that you want to hold yourself accountable to. Looking at it in an intrinsic side now, uh, how often is the importance of self love in terms of building that foundation to be a perfect partner for someone else? What are the values that you go through when you meet people, like they come to you and say, hey coach, what do I need to get from here, to impress this? Do they have their certain questions like that? Have anybody approached you and saying, hey, I want to change myself as well?
Yeah, usually for many of my clients, they're not gonna come to you and tell you like, hey, I want to change this. What's usually is happening is they're gonna tell you like, hey, I keep on ending up with the wrong person, or I keep on chasing the unavailable. So these are the say the effects of or side effects of, for example, if you have a low self-esteem, if you have poor mate choices. So basically they're just gonna tell you what they're experiencing as an effect or in their love life. And as a coach, part of our journey would be to identify, why do you choose guys like that? Why do you choose girls like that? So many times I've noticed those, say, singles who keeps on chasing people who does not like them. It's because they feel like they could not find anyone like them. So basically, it all boils down. You've mentioned self-love, and of course, when you have a not so healthy self-love, that also means that your self-esteem is low. So when your self-esteem is low, you make very bad partner or mate choices, because you look for a partner that will actually be with you for the sake of having a partner. You don't look for a partner because you're looking for this particular complementary person in your life. So basically what I'm saying is, like, a person who has a higher self-esteem, they would look for a partner that they could love. They could look for a partner that would be a good addition to their life, and not look for a partner just for the sake of, I'm gonna look for anyone who's gonna accept me for who I am. So if you have those kind of mindset, like, I'm looking for a partner who's just gonna accept me for who I am, there's no accountability, and that also means that you're not willing to work on yourself. So confidence comes from knowing that you've worked on yourself. So if you've worked on yourself, you have higher standards when it comes to selecting a partner. When you don't work on yourself, you have lower self-esteem, lower self-confidence, so you would take anyone who'd come in your life even if they're not good for you.
Interesting. That's coach, I gotta admit, and now I'm starting to call you coach, because I gotta admit, a very, very powerful value here. This is a valuable conversation, especially in the month of love, where everybody is and now with the pandemic, it's a different, it's a different feel, because everybody is now locked away at home most of the times, and it's a different dating atmosphere nowadays. And what are
True.
your thoughts? What are your thoughts now, prior to the, let's say, the dating age? I think the dating age of meetups, which is still there. What are your thoughts about the current situation? Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Do people need to be uh do people still need to learn to adapt, or they have to do the traditional sense? What are your thoughts?
Right. Honestly, it's a very, very tough time for singles, because, of course, when you're single and you've decided that you'd like to mingle and meet people, the physical aspect was already taken out of the options,
Hmm.
right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's so fun to be able to meet people in flesh,
Yeah.
interact with them, look at them in their eyes, feel them, touch them, like, have like a peer with them, the physical contact. Those are so powerful. But right now, we are actually given an option, which is, if you want to go out and date and meet physically, you risk yourself to health issues, possible health issues. So this is not a normal time. So it's a very tough time for singles, but it's not the end of the world. There are actually ways wherein they could take advantage of whatever is happening right now. And that's the reason why our company, from organizing physical singles events, we've actually pivoted to virtual parties.
Hmm.
So that's what you see sometimes in social media, where there are like Zoom parties, and
Yeah.
we make it exclusive for singles, so that they still continue to connect with each other despite the pandemic. And even if the we are not allowed to go out, the need for connection is still there. I mean, it's actually getting stronger, because the more we are deprived of something, the more we crave for something. So right now, our company is actually very focused on that, connecting singles virtually, so that it will also help them. And not a lot of singles, also not only singles, but even who are people who are in a relationship, have experienced isolation and depression during
Hmm.
this time. And so based on science, when you have a healthy social network, that actually contributes to your happiness and also to your longevity, like the span of your life. It tends to be longer when you have a social supportive social network than compared to when you don't have any friends
Mm.
or good relationships around. And so even if this is a tough time, they still have options. And one of those options would be virtual dating. Virtual dating, when you meet them through FaceTime or Zoom before meeting them in person, is very cost efficient.
Hmm.
It's very safe as long as you don't give your personal details. And at the same time, it saves you from a lot of heartaches, in a sense that when you meet people in person, you tend to fall in love with them faster, sleep with them faster. So it's actually better to connect with them online first, get to know them if they are worth it to meet in person. And so
Mm.
when you did your research, your investigation, you type their name in Google,
Mm.
just like a good studious dating single. Then once you've got to know the person well, then you could decide to meet them in person, go in socially distanced dating. So that way, you still have that, physical aspect, because even if we meet online, of course, you still need to meet them in person. Otherwise, it's gonna end up like an online relationship, and I'm not sure if we could call that a real relationship when you don't meet at least once, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, do not be discouraged. Know what your options are and join communities like of course our company Singles Events Manila, or other communities that actually connects people despite the pandemic.
Interesting. Interesting. I have a good question here. I don't know if this has been asked before. What are your thoughts on LDR? I gotta ask. This has been something that's been bugging me for quite some time. The first question I actually wanted to ask you, like, what are your thoughts on LDR? Good thing, bad thing. What is the pros and cons for LDR?
Wow, LDR, really, I have some personal experiences with it, so I could say that it's not easy.
Hmm.
I would also say that it's not for everyone. So it
Interesting.
takes a lot of skills, patience, and what do you call creativity in order to sustain long distance relationship. Because of course, if you are in a relationship that actually, have you heard about love languages, right? A lot of some
Yeah.
of couples, some of the couples, part of their languages is physical touch, the need to be able to be to closer physically with each other, be able to hug each other, kiss each other. So when you have that
Hmm.
kind of love language, it will be very, very difficult,
Yeah.
because of course, if that's your love language, that's your way wherein you feel loved. So imagine that being taken away from you. So
Hmm.
maybe even if you love the person very much, since you could not express or translate that love to each other, there's no way that you could express it because your love language, for example, is physical touch, then it's a matter of time that your relationship might not make it. But I've read one of this research wherein long distance work for relationships who have a definite reuniting time. What does that mean? Like, for
Hmm.
example, you and your girlfriend, you guys talk about, oh, we're gonna be in a long distance relationship for 2 years, 2 years alone. So after 2 years, you already have this, expectation that you will reunite in a certain time.
Hmm.
And so when you meet after 2 years or during the course of your long distance relationship, you have what you call like the hope that you will reunite after 2 years. So you have something to look forward to. So when you have that kind of specific date wherein you will reunite again, it helps with the sadness, the feeling of being away from each other, because you have that hope that you hold on to that you will reunite after 2 years. But
Hmm.
for those couples who has zero idea when they're gonna reunite again. Well,
Hmm.
that's tough because it's just a matter of time also that maybe they will meet like someone closer to them. Maybe it's just a matter of time wherein one of them will give up because the unknown is very very scary. Like you don't know if you're gonna
Yeah.
see each other again. So like my general, like what I'm trying to say is, if you are in a long distance relationship, please try to set a definite date wherein you will reunite,
Hmm.
or else I'm not sure, it's really gonna be very tough.
Interesting. Wow. Wow. I love this conversation. This is really it's an inspiring, it's a motivational, it's kind of a motivational set piece, and I love it. uh, uh, I've had lots of conversations all over, but this is the first time that I've literally fallen in love with a conversation that's all about love itself. And you've kind of dissected the whole science. All I noticed you've kind of dissected each part of the thing, and it really is a science. And now I'm starting to be a believer of the science of love. It's really really fascinating. Before we wrap this up, do you have some sort of word of advice for young gents, or gentlemen or gentle women who are listening and hopefully looking for that right one in the in the love month? Do you have something to share to them?
Yeah, sure. If there's one thing that I learned about love is that it does not start from the heart. I would
Hmm.
say it starts from the brain. What does that mean? So, when love happens to us, although it feels as if it's like very mysterious, like you don't know what's happening in your body, you don't know what's happening in your mind, always remember that there's a science to it. And so, when we say there's a science to it, you could actually ask the help of Google. Because it's
Hmm.
so tempting to turn to your friends, to turn to your relatives to ask for love and dating advice. But what they can give you are, of course, advices or experiences that they've gone through. But what if that's not the best advice for you? So my advice would be to listen to people who actually studies human beings. Who are these people? There's a lot of psychologists, there's a lot of sociologists, there's a lot of scientists out there who keeps on researching and studying people, and they keep on telling the world that, oh, if you want to keep this relationship, this is an example of what you can do. If you want to keep this relationship, these are the example of things that you cannot do. So just like when you're studying for an exam, or if you want to be promoted at your work, you study, right? You work hard.
Yeah.
In dating, if you really want to do well in dating, you can also study it. If you really want to do well in your social connections, you could also study social skills. I mean, we are so fortunate at this time. Like we have Google, we have a lot of experts even in TikTok, in Instagram. So reach out to them, listen to what they say. So again, even if it's tempting to run to your friends, it's very therapeutic to talk to your friends, but seek experts when it comes to relationships or human interactions, because by the end of the day, your crush, your boyfriend, your husband, these are human beings, and human beings has behaviors and attitudes that you could study. So if you're really in love with them, you really want to please them, you could actually study that. How can I make them feel more loved? How can I make them feel more special? You could actually find that from the internet. Just be sure that you are reading reliable sources. And again, who are these reliable sources? These are the people who are really studying human beings. So my call to action is, before you go on a date, do your research. Before you actually court someone, do your research, and treat dating, love, and relationship as if it's just like you going to work or studying. If you really want to ace it, you could actually study it. So that's going to be my message to the world, Rajiv.
Powerful, powerful. I would love to continue further and ask more questions, because saying I have lots in mind. I hope we will have another part two of this somewhere soon, because the time limit. But I want to say thank you, Ma'am Vanessa, for this conversation. It's such a refreshing feeling to have a conversation about love, knowing that it's an education. And it I hope you come back to the show and we would dissect some more of we have a season where we can dissect love and get into the details, because there are a lot of interesting questions that I can come up with, and I don't think one episode could really cover uh the entire the entire say idea of love. So it's really fascinating. I hope you don't mind.
We would love to, Rajiv, and thank you also for having us in your show. We hope that you continue your passion in sharing, educational stuff to the world. And for those who are listening, like me and my company, it's called Singles Events Manila. We are really committed to not just connecting singles, but also adding the educational factor when it comes to love and dating, which we don't get in our institutions or in our school, because we don't have lessons on dating and love. And we feel like, since we don't have these lessons in our schools, we could actually have these like small conversations wherein we could improve our dating and social skills, because by the end of the day, family is what makes a lot of people happy. And so before you have your family, you will have to go through the dating phase, which is not very, very easy for everyone. But don't you worry, there's actually ways to make dating easier, and that's what we're doing. So we are easily, like, you could reach out to us very easily. We are on Facebook and on Instagram. That's Singles Events Manila. And I'm also on Instagram. My Instagram is dedicated to, of course, sharing the word about being smarter and stronger in love. So my Instagram is Date Coach V. That's DATECOACHVEE. So that's my Instagram handle. Feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions on love, dating, or relationships. Thank you, Rajiv.
Awesome, awesome. I was about to actually ask you about the social media, but you covered it already. Thank you so much. And
All
it's a
right.
huge honor. It's a huge honor to have you. And like I said, I hope you come back to the show and dissect some certain stories and stuff like that. And let's see if we can have a poll, some questions, Q&As. It's gonna be interesting. So yeah, with that in mind, folks, you heard it from the best dating coach on the Rajiv show. Guys, hit her up, and if you're looking for the transcripts to learn you want to pick up something. The transcripts of this conversation is at the website. It will be posted on the uh, it will be posted as a caption on Spotify. You can find it on the reading notes of Spotify, the website. And with that in mind, I want to say thank you so much, Ma'am Vanessa and Antonio. It's a huge honor again. Like I said, it's a huge honor having you on the show. Please come back, and yeah. And cheers, folks, for those who are tuning in. I hope you learned a lot. With that in mind, cheers, and I will see you in the next episode.